everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is India and today I'm so excited to share this news because we wrote a book. Okay, so like I said, we wrote a book. How exciting is that? Like, I'm not saying I'm a published author because I'm not a published author. Honestly, I had little to do with this book, but I'm gonna say I did. I'm gonna say I did, okay? And here it is. So this book right here is a culmination of a whole bunch of quilts that center around talking about the life and legacy of Congressman John Lewis. So basically, my mother curated this book, okay? My mother, if you don't already know, she is a quilter, and not just the quilts you put on your bed or that you got from your grandma. She is an art quilter, okay? She's pretty big time, not gonna lie. I'm gonna link her link down below. Make sure to check her out. I mean, she's been in the High Museum. If you know anything about art, that's a big deal. Anyway, so for the past few years, she has been working on a 3-part series about the life and legacy of Congressman John Lewis because we actually live in his district. Well, I don't anymore, but I used to live in his district. And if you know anything about Congressman John Lewis, he's a civil rights activist. He marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with Martin Luther King Jr. And so he has done a lot for the world. And so for the past 3 years, well, not the past 3 years, the past few years, my mother has done a 3-part quilt show that all center around celebrating and highlighting the accomplishments of Congressman John Lewis, but also where we are as a generation. So that is where the title comes from: Good Trouble Quilts, the Fight, the Progress, the Legacy. Part 1 really highlights what the history of Congressman John Lewis and how he became to be the forefront and the leader and an all around, for lack of a better term, my brain's not working, badass in the civil rights movement, right? And then the progress. The progress is highlighting and celebrating how we have been able to live our life thanks to the hard work of the men and women in the civil rights movement, and what those actions of them have allowed us to create our lives and have a better lives thanks to their sacrifices. And then the legacy. The legacy is talking about what we can do going forward to help continue to promote civil rights in our lives and to help continue to better for the future. Because as you know, in this world, it might, it might feel like we have civil rights, but some things still we are fighting for equality in so many realms, not just racially, but also for our LGBTQIA plus community, even in our religious communities. And so it's all about what we're going to do next. So this book features over 100 quilts. It features over 50 quilters. I should know because I have worked on every single part of this. The only credit I have in here is actually I've got photo credits for part 2, but like this is one of my mother's quilts. So to give you a highlight into this book, this is one of my mother's quilts. Yes, it's a quilt. Her name is Ovie Brantley, and this is her Good Trouble library. And so she wanted to make a quilt about books, because John Lewis himself has written some books, but he's also an avid reader. And also, if you know about John Lewis and his history, he also really loved quilts. One of the best pictures we have of him is him laying under a quilt gifted to him. And then also, if you are a quilter, there is a quilt guild called the Brown Sugar Stitchers, and at one of their anniversary teas, they actually had the pleasure of gifting John Lewis a quilt made by the quilters of the Brown Sugar Quilt Guild. And so this is another one of my mother's. She did a crossword puzzle to highlight words that were important during the civil rights movement, and this is in part 1. And then for part 2, gotta get through all of these. Oh, this was an absolute crowd favorite. Seeing this one in person, crazy. Definitely one of my favorite quilts by Melinda Rushing. It's beautiful in person. We had the pleasure of actually traveling our part one exhibit to multiple galleries throughout the US, so that way other people could also enjoy the history and the legacy. And then for like our part two, we're celebrating, like this one is by Vicki Lord, called Rebirth. Celebrating how we can do what we can do to move forward and how we've been given a chance to keep moving forward. Just because it's easier to highlight my mother's, so that way I don't have to permissions. This is another one of my mom's. It's one of her red and white quilts. This one, if you know anything about us, we're both members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And so she did her Sharing Sisterhood because she is actually a charter member of the University of Arkansas Lambda Theta chapter from 1974. And so this talks about the history and how she's moved things forward for NPHC sororities and fraternities at the University of Arkansas, because they were actually the first ones on that campus. Let's go to part three. Part three, one that my mother did, which of course touched me deeply, because this part three is how we can continue to fight for civil rights, fight for equality, fight for health, fight for everything. And of course this one touched both of us very deeply. This was her March for Black Maternal Health. A lot of you know I did recently have a baby, and you know the death rates for Black women in America, and maternal death rates for Black women in America is actually crazy high. So this was actually one of my biggest fears giving birth, was that I was going to die giving birth, because that's not irrational. It's actually quite plausible. You know, even being perfectly healthy. Another one by Janice Daniel, Stand Up and Speak Up for What You Believe. Because everything that John Lewis did doesn't stop just because he died. It doesn't stop just because a lot of our civil rights leaders have passed on. They did their job, their work, and their effort, and it's still up to us to continue what we're going to do next. And so we have to continue that legacy in all realms and all things, to just fight for equality. If you're looking to purchase this book, I will leave the links down below in order for you to purchase the book. You can get them at a lot of your major retailers. We're trying to get it in some small bookshops. So if you are a small bookshop owner and you would like to stock this book in your shelves, please reach out to the Atlanta Quilt Festival, or reach out to my mom, or reach out to me, and I will get the information that you need for this, or I'll just give you the link where you can purchase it wholesale. Okay. But as far as purchasing it yourself, I will leave a link below where you can purchase these books for yourself. And it's a beautiful coffee table book. There are so many amazing quilts in here. All of these quilts were shown at the Atlanta Quilt Festival. I'm not sure I mentioned that earlier, which is an annual quilt show. My mom is one of the co-founders and CEOs for, which is an annual quilt show held in Atlanta, Georgia, which is to really highlight and celebrate quilting and African American quilting, and to keep the quilt traditions going forward. We have classes every single year in August. Our opening reception is the first Sunday of every August, every year in Atlanta at the South. At least this year it's at the Southwest Art Center. Hopefully it will be for years to come. We accept quilters from anywhere, from everywhere. We've had quilters from all over the country enter their quilts in, and also some internationally. So that was really exciting the first year we had that. We consider ourselves the largest African American quilt show in the United States. So please look out for us. Follow the Atlanta Quilt Festival on all your social medias. Follow me on all your social medias. I was just really excited to talk about this now that we got the physical copy in and we're finally able to share it after working with so many great people, great artists, to help us make this dream come true, because this was definitely a multi-year project doing all of these quilts. So please, 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 please check it out, share with your friends, share with your local bookstores, so that way we can get this book everywhere and get it shared. Okay, so that's it for me, guys. Like I said, don't forget to look down in the box below. Look out for all of these links. Don't forget to follow me on all the social media. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Especially share this video with others. This is such an important message, and it's such an important thing for the community. Okay, so please share. Share. If you don't buy, please share. That's all I ask. Anyway, that's it for me. So until next time, keep turning the pages.